Welcome to Cringe Club, the podcast that celebrates everything cringe, with me, Emily Jane Clark, and a different hilarious guest every week who discuss their most embarrassing moments. Now, this week accidentally became kind of a tribute to one of my, you could say, cringy obsessions. I was so excited to find out that Louie is also obsessed with this thing. Apologies for us geeking out a little bit in this, but I hope you enjoy it. Hello, in the Cringe Club today, we have talented and hilarious author and illustrator of the hit Loki series, among other brilliant books. It's Louie Stowell.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming. How are you feeling? Are you ready to unleash and embrace some cringe with me?
Yeah, so before we talked about it in this podcast, we were talking about the concept of cringe, and
Yeah,
I was saying basically I don't really have cringe,
yeah.
and I think basically maybe I embraced my cringe very early in life, but
Yeah,
I think it's interesting when you get the gap between your perception of something and someone else's.
yeah.
So my experience showing photos of boys I liked in the 90s to my friends was they were horrified. I was like, "It's fine. What do you talk about? Yes, he looks like a turtle, but that apparently that's my type. Turtles. Well, it was my
Is
type
that
in the
your type?
90s.
The
In
turtle
the
look.
90s,
The turtle
slightly
look.
kind of damp looking boys who kind of had big glasses and I don't know
In the
why
cu-
that's a turtle, but yeah.
yeah, it's making me think of what's his name from Pulp. Is that the kind of look you mean?
Yeah, but that's sort of a bit more flattering than
Okay. That's
if you
hilarious.
cross that with Adrian Mole, I think.
Oh, okay. So that was your
A vibe.
thing.
But
Okay. Well, that's
I was
good.
fairly unashamed.
I think my thing was I did drama, so
Mm,
I was quite happy embarrassing myself and
mm.
all that. But it's only when I sort of look back on the things I did, I feel like, oh my God, what a dork. But at the time, I think I thought I was pretty cool. So I was
Yeah.
embracing it. But I think it was just in hindsight, I was like,
Yeah, I think basically I have no hindsight because I never remember anything. So maybe this is
quite
why I don't
useful.
feel cringe because I can't
Yeah.
look back and cringe. Basically,
Yeah.
if I look back at my diaries, I'm just like, that's just a different person. That's not me.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't
Like,
it,
I do
looking
have
back on
diaries
them?
from the age of 12. And I definitely read ones that are kind of funny, but also I try to have empathy for my 13-year-old
Yeah.
self and kind of things
Yeah.
that seemed like the end of the world. Really did seem like the end of the world, you know?
It really did, because I recently dug all mine out to read to my kids, and it did strike me, the things
Oh,
that
that's very
upset you
brave
then,
of
they're
you.
so dramatic. I know, I had to stop when I got to about 15, I was like, "Okay, these are for when
Yeah.
you're a bit older,"
Or
because
never.
they get a bit more sweary, and so I've had to postpone the reading of them.
Yeah.
I do read them back, and I think I didn't realise I was such a dork, but then again, like you say, I have the sympathy for my
Yeah.
12-year-old self, because it's a tough time back then.
It's probably being that age now is probably worse.
Do you think? I don't
I
know,
think
I
so
don't know.
because, well, I no, it's not worse. Okay, so there's some ways in which it's better.
Different,
I
ma
think
yeah, yeah.
basically having access to connections beyond your
Yeah.
circles. I wish I'd had that. Partly
Mm.
because all my nerdy obsessions I could have talked about with people rather than just have them in my head. So
Yes.
I don't think I met people who were as nerdy as me until I was about 12.
Right, okay.
So I did have friends who'd say read Lord of the Rings, and I
Mm,
forced them to play Lord of the Rings, but they weren't into it, and I was really I was
yeah.
forcing them, you know what I mean? In the playground, I was like, "You be Sam, I'm Frodo, you be Gollum." But yeah, it wasn't until I met a boy at a music camp. So it was one of
Right.
those like
Yeah,
residential
yeah.
one time at band camp. Not quite like that because you're 12. Um, and he introduced me to the world of LARPing, which was incredible because
Okay.
that was where you
Yeah,
get to meet the people who
of
are,
course.
as into that stuff as you. So this was the boyfriend I wrote letters to in Elvish.
Oh, that's quite
Um,
sweet.
yeah. So I feel like that was just the beginning of finding other people with the same obsessions. But really, I think it wasn't until my 20s when I got properly online that I realized how many people there were, you know. And I do feel like the lack of that. But I suppose the way in which it's worse now is so much of it's visual.
Yes,
And when
yeah.
you're at a phase of your life where you're like,
Mm.
physically insecure, that's bad. Like,
God, yeah,
if I'd had
definitely.
Twitter as a kid, I'd be fine, but Instagram or TikTok
Yeah.
would have been a killer,
I
you know?
because it's bad enough, like the magazines with all the airbrushed images, that was kind of
Yeah,
our equivalent. But at
yeah,
least with that, you could just not
yeah,
be
and your friends
confronted
weren't
with it
always
all the
sending it
time.
to you know?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, I
So I
like to
think,
think I would have just not been on Instagram and I would have been on Twitter like a 40-year-old man, but,
yeah, well, my kids, they're not
yeah,
on social media, but they're not allowed it yet
yeah, yeah,
anyway. But they haven't actually asked for it. I don't know
yeah.
whether there's a bit
I
of
think
a
a lot of kids are on
backlash.
Discord, and I think that's healthy
Yeah,
because that's basically like-minded communities, it's a closed community,
I'd
um
never even heard of that. I'm obviously not down with the kids.
Really? Oh, well, basically, it's something that people use a lot for, like, computer games, so when you're playing, you
Okay,
can discuss what you're doing at the same
right.
time, because it's kinda live chat, but
Oh,
keeps a record
okay.
of it. So it's not like Twitter where it just scrolls away,
It
it's
just
it's
goes.
kept. So you'll
Okay.
have different threads for different topics, public social media, so it
Yeah.
is
Oh, well,
different.
that's not as bad. So it's
Yeah.
just a place to share your passions,
It's
I
like
suppose.
forums were back in the day, you know?
But anyway, so you embraced your cringe really from a very young age.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I went to a girls' school, and boys were currency. So, I met the nerdiest boys because I was in an orchestra, I was in a concert band, so like, a wind band. So these are not the cool boys.
But were they turtle boys though?
They were turtle boys, but
Yeah.
but they were currency, you know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
boys
yeah.
to invite to my parties. The quality of the boys,
Nice.
let's not speak of it, but
Didn't matter. They were still boys.
they were
They were
still
boys.
boys. And it is interesting because it is that kind of like you're grading on a curve with cringe, aren't you? It's like,
Yeah.
it's if it's to a starving 13-year-old girl,
Mhm.
every boy is a feast. I my approach. So I was in a girls' school from year 8, but in year 7 I was in a mixed school. And I remember my tactic for getting boys to like me was offering to beat up people that were mean to them.
Nice.
So I don't know, like I'm not sure my flirting's improved over the years, but that was my
I don't know.
approach.
Do you know what? I might try that.
Why not? Some boys need to be nurtured, protected, and
Yeah, they do,
um,
poor things.
yeah,
That's a good tactic, though. I don't
mm,
think I had a particular tactic. I think I'd try and say something funny, thinking that would be memorable.
yeah,
But I soon realised that not all boys find funny girls attractive. I didn't get
yeah,
many boys. I should have
yeah.
tried your tactic. So,
Yeah, sadly, my approach to flirting with girls was be secretly in love with them and never tell them,
oh,
which I think is
how
quite a
did that
common
work out?
experience. Didn't work out brilliantly.
Hmm,
I think basically, like, I got my first proper girlfriend when I was about 17 and had left school and went out with one of the girls that I'd used to go to school with.
yeah,
So I was at a safe distance then, so it was okay to admit I liked her. So I guess it worked out. There you go.
yeah, that's
But it
lovely.
didn't. That was the only one it worked out with. I was recently doing a book signing, um, and one of the parents that came along was a girl I had a crush on at school,
Oh no.
and it was so weird that moment of like, oh my god, it's you. And I hadn't seen her
Oh,
since school because she was in a
yeah.
different year to me. But I don't think she's going to listen to this, so it should be
No.
fine.
Did she recognise you?
Yeah, she did. So because we were only a few years
Yeah,
apart,
yeah.
so like
But she
it's
didn't
a bit.
know about the
No,
crush?
no, 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 not at all.
Uh, oh, did you put a little love note in the book,
No,
like, that
I
you
should have
signed?
done. That would have been a really good idea. I think I did spend a
Yeah,
little bit longer, like, autographing it for the kid and, like,
yeah.
doing doodles and stuff, yeah.
What kind of do you remember any celebrity crushes you had on anyone back then?
Oh, yeah. So, well, it's everyone's cartoon crushes, right? Like, everyone has some
Oh,
cartoons.
totally. I've got on my thing
So,
I've written here, Lion-O.
thing.
Thundercat. I know he
Yeah,
wasn't even a human.
Chitara from Thundercats.
Oh god, she was hot as well,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, Chitara from Thundercats, Galadriel from the 1970 something Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings cartoon,
Okay, haven't seen that one.
Legolas from the same cartoon.
Okay.
Had a type. You know, and then I guess we get out of the cartoon. Well, obviously Robin Hood, but I feel like that's a bit like Desert Island Discs. You get that one free as someone from our generation. Yeah. Um, but I mean, I think this was like women who were attracted to men. I don't know if gay men were into the Fox or not.
I
I've never
don't
had that
know.
conversation. Yeah, and then there was obviously David Bowie. Um, I say obviously, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
assume that's
Well
everyone.
well, I don't know. I was never really into David Bowie.
Bowie specifically in Labyrinth,
Oh yeah, of course. Loved him in Labyrinth. He was hot in
The
that.
Hunger as well, which was a vampire film. With him and Catherine Deneuve playing a couple of vampires.
And now we've got into vampires,
Yeah.
you know what it's time for, Louis.
What is it time for?
So anyone, who knows me knows I'm a bit of a Buffy fan.
Mhm.
So I love to meet fellow Buffy fans, which of course you are, so I can
Yes.
just geek out a bit. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna fire a few Buffy questions at you. Let's have a
Okay,
bit of a
please
cringy
hit
Buffy
me.
chat.
Um,
Favorite characters?
I oh, that's actually a really hard one because I love them as a collective. But of minor characters, I
Yeah.
love Andrew. Andrew is everything to
Okay.
me.
Yeah,
I
he's a
think
good one.
Storyteller is one of my favorite episodes.
Okay.
Um, I am obsessed with a very minor character, but she is the Watcher who did her thesis on Spike, and I want to know
Oh,
everything about her.
okay.
It's basically in the episode where the Watcher's Council comes to town
Yeah.
in season 5. Um, she's interviewing Spike, and she just goes, "I wrote my thesis on you," and that's just stuck in my mind for the rest of my life because I actually that came to me later when I met the person I'd written my thesis on, which was Posey Simmons, and I said, "I wrote my
Oh.
thesis on you," and I was like, I think part of me was hoping she'd come back with a Buffy quote, but she didn't realize it was a
Oh,
Buffy quote.
that's
But
annoying.
yeah, I think I have a kind of unhealthy obsession with very minor characters
Hey.
because I like that idea of a world that's sort of big enough that those minor characters have a life of their own. Yeah. Is it bad to say Buffy's my favorite character?
No, she's dead cool, but
Yeah.
I loved Faith and Spike.
Right.
They're probably my
I mean,
favourites.
I love Spike as well, and I think basically what's interesting about Spike is he'd make a terrible protagonist.
I know.
Because
Yeah.
I've actually like he just has to be a foil. He's not a main character, he's a foil, and that's why he works, and I think him and Buffy work so well.
Oh,
Um,
brilliantly.
but him and random characters as well, like him and Giles.
I love their
Yeah.
relationship actually. Yeah, so I can see what you mean.
Yes, where they're kind of like, sort of being father-son, but also in Tabula Rasa.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird 'cause I'm watching all with my kids now, so it's quite nice, 'cause
Yeah.
they love it. It's made a bit of a comeback, so all the youngsters are really into Buffy as well,
Yeah.
and I remember I used to really fancy Angel, but now I'm fancying Giles.
I think like a pivotal moment of realizing my age was when I realized that I was a year older than season 1 Giles. I'm now several years older than season 1 Giles. I'm still within the Giles frame, but yeah. But yeah, so because he's 43 in season 1, at least the actor was. I don't know how old Giles was meant to be. I was just thinking I'm incredibly interested to see what they do with the reboot.
I'm
Because I
really
had
excited.
so many thoughts about what happens next. So I actually
Yeah.
wrote a virtual season 8 with a bunch of people online
Wow.
circa 2003. So we did it all in script
Oh,
form.
okay.
So we're trying to make it as much like we thought the real episodes were going to be, and we had them set up in New York, partly because I'd been to New York a lot and didn't have to do much research.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So there was a pivotal battle on the High Line, for example, um, and yeah, so I cast the fella out of Talking Heads as the villain. Um, and his villain was basically me kind of exploring what's the true villain of your 20s, of your later 20s.
Yeah.
And it's chaos. So he was kind of a chaos demon. And his approach wasn't that he was evil, it was that he wanted to like turn everything on their head. Um, which was kind of a bit of a homage in my mind to Crazy Jane, who was in oh god, what was it? Was it Mystery Men? She was a comics character who had
Okay.
um, she had multiple personalities, and each one of those personalities had different superpowers.
Okay,
So I
cool.
wanted to come up with a villain who was as kind of chaotic as that.
Yeah.
He was a single figure, but the idea of I guess the trickster god, which obviously came out later in my writing without me making the connection.
No,
But anyway, so
yeah.
yeah, so my fanfic, the fanfic thing that I wrote then, um, that was set immediately after the end of Buffy, so it wasn't 20
Yeah,
years
yeah.
later because I was writing it in 2003. So now I want to know, well, there's obviously the technical stuff about so those all those Slayers were awakened, right?
Of course,
So
yeah, yeah.
do we get a new Slayer when each one of those dies, or is it
Is
still
it
only if Faith dies? So
hmm,
is that the only way we're getting a new Slayer? So there's the technical stuff,
there's
but
questions, yeah, yeah.
and
How
also
th
like what new organization have they set up around those potentials that all awakened? How many of them
exactly.
were there? Do people know about um the Slayers, because it depends. Like if there
Yeah,
was 100 of them, you could keep that quiet. If there was 10,000 of them, you probably couldn't.
exactly. And they'd be all over social. Are they going to be on,
Exactly, yeah.
social media?
Because the Slayerization spell was actually at the start of Facebook, so I feel like it would have been on
Mm.
Facebook pretty quickly. So I have big questions about that, and also I guess about, because I know Sarah Michelle Gellar's cast in it. So what's her role in
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Is she going to be a kind of watcher figure? Is she going to be a mentor? Is she going to be absolutely away from it all, living a normal life, running an art gallery or something like her mum?
I kind of
Um,
want that to happen. Just
yeah,
to have a
but I
normal life and then suddenly everything kicks off again and
But
she
yeah,
has
I
to
kind of
come
think the
back.
idea of her being in retirement and coming back for
Yeah.
one last job, and I'm too old for this crap.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
think.
I
That's what
think
I'm
that would be really fun,
hoping.
like a kind of like slightly battle-hardened
Yeah.
Slayer who's got a busy life elsewhere.
Yeah. Maybe she's got a couple of kids, sort of
Yeah,
thing, and it's
yeah, and she's trying
all
to juggle career because
yeah, yeah.
obviously she never finished her education. Did she go to?
No,
I mean, was
exactly.
her next phase of life a bit like Community, where she had to go to adult education college and kind of end up with the flotsam and jetsam? Or did she not do any education and go into like private security because that's where her skill set are? So the question is, has she worked out how to kind of capitalize on her skills? And I want to know how the new Slayer fits into it, because obviously there's a main character who's been cast.
Exactly. It's a lot of pressure on them because there's going to be so many people like us wondering
Yeah.
what's going on.
Basically, I
So,
think for me, the world building is key, but also
yeah.
what's the emotional hook now? Because obviously, like the original metaphor was high school is hell. Is it going to
Yeah.
be that high school is still hell? Is it going to be something else? Is it going to be about our modern world? Because I feel like Buffy was able to be a little bit isolated from real world politics, um, because the politics of the 90s was so different.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
real world politics is such a part of everyday life and such an encroachment on the lives of teenagers that they're not going to be able to ignore
Definitely.
it. I'm not saying I want them to make it about Trump, but I just think, the kind of late stage capitalism,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's going to
rise of
be
fascism. How does the rise of fascism link to vampires? Are vampires in on it? Are they actually annoyed
ooh.
about it?
They should have got you on
And
the right in the writers'
I know.
room, Louis.
So there's I don't know if you've read any Naomi Alderman, um, but
Yeah,
she
yeah, I
wrote
have.
she wrote The Power in
The
response to
vagina power people.
the
The women
vagina
had
power people. They're
Well,
not
did she
really
write a
vagina power,
did
but
she
like
wri
women get magic powers,
Yeah, but
like
didn't they come
electric
from their
powers.
vagina or
I
something?
don't remember the vagina bit. To be honest,
Oh,
it's a
okay,
while
maybe
since I read it. Um,
okay, but yeah, I know what you mean.
anyway, so and that was, she was saying, it partly in response to Buffy season 7 and what would happen if all these girls got
Ah,
powers.
okay.
Because I think, like, in my view, it's not going to go well. Like, I don't think
No,
you can give teenagers this magic powers out of the blue and expect it to go well. They're going
no.
to get manipulated by people. They're going to go bad. We're going to have a lot of faiths. But I think not just faiths. We're going to have a lot of groomed terrorists.
Mm,
We're
yeah,
going to have people kind of co-opted by the far right. There's going to be at least one
true.
far right Slayer by now. Because from my experience of going to university around the time of Buffy, I know at least two people I went to university with who've been groomed by the far right, and
Really? Oh,
surely that's going to
okay.
happen to at least one of the Slayers that were
Mm,
about my age at the time.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
no, there's so many different things they could do with it. I hope they keep some humour in it as well.
oh god, that's my absolute base level. It has to be hilarious,
Because
otherwise
you
it's nothing.
can't write about vampire slayers if you're taking yourself too seriously.
No, and I think basically whenever someone tells me something is for fans of Buffy and they don't make it and it's not funny, I
Yeah.
I want to throttle them. That's just not. It's only Buffy. It's like the humor is what
Yeah.
brought me there. It's what's kept me there.
Same.
But
Yeah.
then I think the kind of the layering of themes and the play with genre also was there. But I think the humor and
Yeah.
the play with genre, which again I think is essential. And I think, what do you do now with the horror genre in this current setting?
Yeah.
We've obviously had so many parodies of horror now since Buffy. You need something else, and an engagement, I guess, with the current horror genre, which is very different and is
Yeah.
much more political. Anyway, yeah. So I guess my two big asks, no, three big asks for the new Buffy are funny, dealing with current politics, and dealing with what does it mean to have a bunch of girls with superpowers running around the world. Well, they're not
Yes.
girls anymore; they're probably in their mid-30s, actually.
Yeah.
So women in their mid-30s with superpowers, because I think they were all supposed to be
Yes.
about 15 at the time, weren't they? So,
Maybe, yeah. So if anyone's
yeah,
listening from the Buffy writers' room,
yeah.
take
Just
note.
no pressure, but lots of
No
pressure.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you for indulging my,
No, I mean, it's
Buffy.
indulging me, thank you.
But can we talk a bit about Loki, actually?
Yes, of course.
Um No, you
Sorry.
don't have to, but,
Bend my
I
arm,
think
yeah.
people will be interested to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very funny and, kids absolutely go mad and collect them. Do you remember when you first came up with the idea? Were you really into Norse gods? Were you a Norse head, as as they might say in the
So,
circles?
yes, I came to Loki from about 4 different directions, so it was very much
Okay.
a convergence of different interests. So, this probably taps into the cringe, which is
Yeah,
I was a
yeah.
big fan of Wagner as a child, which doesn't mark you out
Oh,
as the
okay.
coolest of the cool. Um, uh, and because I play the trumpet and Wagner has great trumpet parts, but I also love the idea of, dwarves and giants and all these mythological gods, and the drama of Ragnarok, which was the end of the twilight of the gods,
Mm.
which I think is a mistranslation of Ragnarok. I forget. Anyway, it's the end. Gotterdammerung. It's the end of the ring cycle. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
came via that, and then I also came via Viking stories. I had a Terry Jones book as a kid, which was called Eric the Viking, which was
Yeah.
retelling of a Viking saga. I love Noggin the Nog. That was another Viking story. It wasn't called Viking, but you kind of knew it
No.
was.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then I think I was just, into Vikings generally. I loved the idea of like sailing around causing trouble. Um, so there was the Viking strand, and also things like Jorvik Viking Centre. Visiting that as a child was really
Oh,
powerful.
yes, I remember doing that on a
Um,
school trip.
and then kind of coming through university doing Old English, and Beowulf touches on a lot of Norse legends. It's not specifically about the Norse legends, but it has the kind of Norse heroic in it, and it does have elements of the Norse fantastic, which is
Mm,
dragons, for instance. And another strand is Tolkien. So I was a massive Tolkien fan. Like I said
good, yeah.
earlier, I learned Elvish and wrote love letters in Elvish. Um, and Tolkien took an awful lot from Norse mythology. So all the dwarves in Norse myths are from like the names are explicitly ripped from a list of dwarf names. So is Gandalf, but he gave it to a wizard, not a dwarf. Um, and so yes, Tolkien was another angle, and then I think are kind of completely separate from the mythological. The other influences are much more from the real world of children's books.
Mhm.
So, real world characters like Adrian Mole. So that idea of the diary that has absolutely zero to self knowledge, which diaries never do. So I was very much into the idea of Loki being a character with no self knowledge. And the reason
Yeah,
I focused in on Loki was I like the idea of an underdog.
yeah.
And also I think it's that I don't think I think of this consciously, but it was that idea of a character with whom you can kind of like express all your worst opinions and your least flattering side, your kind of like all your nastiest little impulses, all the things that I think I wanted to do at school but was too scared to do. Just like it's actually so Jan Mark was another influence in that capacity. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
this short story by Jan Mark, called Chutzpah. A girl turns up on the first day of school at new school, and she says exactly what's on her mind. She insults everyone. I remember firmly her kind of talking about asking, "Are you a Millwall supporter?" And the guy said, "Yeah, how did you know?" And she said, "The pointed head gives it away." And it was just going through saying like the rudest
Yeah.
things you can imagine, cheeking the teachers. And then at the end, it turns out she doesn't actually go to that school. She's
Oh
basically
god.
her school
Yeah.
doesn't start for another day, so she thought it'd be funny just to go to a random school and pretend she
And she
goes
was
there.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 and I think that idea of what do you do when you completely take the brakes off?
Yeah.
So Loki came from that, and then also from Just William, that idea of, I guess, the archetypal school kid who's naughty in short trousers,
Yeah.
and whose kind of main sort of story engine is getting into trouble and getting out of trouble. And I wanted the overlay of the mythic and the very ordinary.
Yeah.
So, 'cause all my favorite fantasy is very much set in this world, really, apart from Tolkien. But I tend to like stuff where it's like, yeah, you're a wizard, but you're also live in a city and
Yeah, me too. I
have to
do love it.
have
Yeah.
a mobile phone or whatever,
Yeah.
and that idea of the secret community hidden in plain sight. So that idea of like Loki's on Earth, but he's not allowed to reveal who he is.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just a story about fitting in and being the weird kid. Um, and how do you make friends when it's hard to make friends? Because I'm coming from the point of view of Loki was not popular in Asgard. All the gods hated him, and largely because of his behavior, but also I think because of some level of like um, prejudice
Uh,
against him being an outsider. And I think did an awful lot of research into the myths. I actually did that years ago because I was writing a non-fiction, a retelling of the myths. So that's when I originally read the Edda, which is the main sources I've used. I think what kids ask me when I why do I write about Norse myths, and my answer for them is stupid. Like they're
Yeah.
really silly
Yeah,
stories.
yeah.
It's very much like there's a story. So Thor has a goat chariot, and his goats, if you eat them, they come back to life. Um,
Okay.
but but if you eat their bones, they end up limping. And I just remember this image of this limping goat that had come back to life just being really funny
Yeah,
to
so
me.
how does that work? Do they poo them out and then they grow from your poo?
Unclear. Mythological worlds do not work like Brandon Sanderson. There's no list of rules of how the magic works. So one of the things I had to develop with my editor was how to make these things a little bit more systematic, but
Yeah,
without
yeah.
I didn't want to lose the magic of it, because I think for me, part of myth is that just a bunch of weird stuff happens and you have to kind of accept it.
Totally, totally,
Just
yeah.
go with it.
Don't overthink it. Just go. If you want them to have pooed out a goat,
Exactly. Yeah. Just go with
you
it.
imagine that.
Because I also think that really jives with childhood, which is a time of real absurdity.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, you're always getting told to do things just because.
Or, like your parents would say, "Because I said so."
Yeah. And I think myth is a little bit because I said so. I mean, obviously, myth also has a social context that we're lacking because it was an
Yeah.
oral culture, so we don't have any of the why behind things. So there was probably stuff that meant a lot to people at the time, but we don't know what.
So Loki is famously very mischievous. Are you a mischievous person, Louis?
So I apparently have very little self-knowledge. I once did a leadership training course when I was working in publishing, and we had to do an emotional intelligence test. And the
Mhm.
bit where you have to understand your own emotions, I got zero. I'm not zero, but like really low scores. So anyway, so basically, don't trust me about when I say things about myself. I was doing an event where I had some friends from school came with their kids. Um, and I was doing the bit I was talking about, some kid asked me if I'm like Loki, and I was like, "Yeah, but like I wasn't very naughty at school." And one of them just burst out laughing. "You liar!" And I wasn't lying. I just was misremembering. Yes, I very much remembered myself as very well behaved, and if I got into trouble, it wasn't my fault. And I think I really enjoy the kind of kind of again, banter's been ruined as well by the
Yeah,
manosphere or whatever. But banter, where it is like we're gonna have some
yeah.
witty repartee, we're gonna insult each other. I was talking online the other day about a game we used to play, which was called Say Hello to Mr. Ground. Um, and basically it involved just pushing each other down on the ground, saying "Say hello to Mr. Ground." But it wasn't bullying; it was very much a consensual game,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
the aim of the game was just become hysterical with laughter. And like
That sounds fun.
we only managed to do it about 4 times before everyone was just lying on the floor laughing.
Yeah.
Because it was
Yes.
one of those things where it's like it was just absurd. Yeah, yeah, so that's mischief, not bullying, yeah, and I think there is a line. And I think, like, I do have to think about that with Loki of, like, when he does tip over into bullying, it has to become obvious that that's not mischief anymore, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think for me, that sort of mirrors his mythological arc, because he starts off as mischievous, but by the end of the mythological arc, he becomes a monster.
yeah.
And I've basically taken him out of the myths before he becomes a monster. He's done some bad stuff, but, like, forgivable bad stuff, like,
Yeah.
just going too far, like, being a bit annoying.
Yeah, like
Um,
kids do because they haven't got,
yeah, like, you push
they
it too
haven't learned.
far, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
And I think basically I like to play with that of, like, does Loki have the potential to become a
Yeah,
monster? What does it mean to be a monster? Um, who else could be a monster? And also, what does it mean to be good? Which is, like, I'm very interested in philosophy and that idea of
yeah,
what is goodness? We can't really take it for granted. We have to construct it ourselves. Obviously, there's things that we learn from our society. But Loki was an interesting person to channel that through because he's a god. He's not a person in our sense. He's not human, and the gods do live by a different code, and they
yeah.
do have a lack of consequences for all of them. So Odin does terrible stuff too. The reason Loki is defined as the bad one is the power relationship, and
Mm,
also because Loki does bad stuff to other gods, whereas Odin does bad stuff to people outside the god tribe, as it were. So he does bad stuff to giants, he does bad stuff to
Yeah,
humans.
yeah.
He doesn't tend to do bad stuff to other gods. And I think that's partly it's that idea of transgression within the group is part of what's defined as bad in some societies. What you count as the in group and the out group is also a definition of what you count as good and bad, and who do you count as human? And I think
Yeah.
with Loki, I kind of want to be expansive as to who counts as human.
Yeah. But I think everyone enjoys a mischievous character.
Yeah, because I quite enjoy having other characters be mischievous. So
Yeah.
in book 2, I won't say who it is in case someone's not read book 2,
Yeah,
but there's a
yeah, I was
character
gonna
in there
say to
who does act in a trickster-like fashion who's not Loki. And then I think, kind of Georgina, who's one of the human characters, loves pulling pranks because she's got little brothers. She loves, like, pranking them. And also she loves a witty comeback. Like, she's very
mm,
much the one-liner is her thing, and kind of and
brilliant.
one-liners can be quite cruel, and but I think for her it's often about punching up. Like, she'll only do it to people that kind of deserve it. Um, whereas Loki will punch down. He will make fun of a 4-year-old for sucking their thumb. You know what I mean? Like, um he doesn't care because he doesn't get it. It's not like he doesn't understand. He hasn't had an education in power relationships yet.
Exactly. So you've always embraced your cringe from a very young age. How did you learn to do that? Or was it just something in you?
So it definitely started pretty young because there's a video of my
Yeah.
8th birthday party where I engineered this birthday party entirely so I could have a fight with a boy that I wanted to have a fight with and win. Because basically, he couldn't really beat me up if there was a camera. So basically, I had
Ah, okay.
this Asterix party, and I was going to play Asterix, and I made him play Julius Caesar because they're enemies. And I made everyone play specific Asterix characters except someone that didn't get the memo and they came as Asterix. So Asterix now has a twin brother. It's canon. It was basically me narrating this entire kind of sequence of events where they have a big
Okay.
feast and then Asterix fights Julius Caesar. So that was fairly early on in life. But I guess the cringe comes in the fact that my mum then showed it to every person I brought home. Every potential romantic partner. Yeah. So, but the thing is, I think she was trying, but it didn't cringe me out. So I was like, I'm proud of this. So, what is my advice to people that want to express their cringe? So I think, so the advice someone gave me about performing, I say advice someone gave me. I think I might have seen it on Buffy actually. So the advice, the normal advice is imagine everyone in the audience in their underwear because then it's
Yeah.
embarrassing for them. The advice from Buffy, which I think was from Anya, was imagine everyone in the audience is dead. It's a bit like the dance like nobody's watching, but it's like basically kind of act as if there's no one there and you're just doing what you want to do. I don't mean
Yeah.
this in a sociopathic way. I just mean when you're doing something that you feel self-conscious about, just pretend there's no one there. Or if there is
Yeah.
anyone there, they're only sympathetic.
I tell my kids to pretend everyone is on the toilet having a big poo, and then you're thinking of that and you forget to be embarrassed.
And also, I think like another very much more kind of less of like horrible advice I had was the first public event I ever did. Another author who's Sarah McIntyre told me
Oh, yeah.
um, that basically kids aren't there to see you; they're there for you to see them. And I think that for a performer, I think that's a really useful piece of advice because actually people want to connect with you. They want to meet you. They want to
Yeah, of
know
course.
what you
Yeah.
think about things and they want you to like think they're important. And I mean, that's maybe more true of kids than an adult audience. But I don't know. I think adult audience, they're sometimes just waiting to ask their question. And I found that really helpful because it is like, you know what, they're not there waiting for you to mess up.
Yeah.
And they won't notice if you do because they don't know what you were meaning to say.
Exactly. Actually, as we're on advice,
Mm,
at the end of the show, we have a few anonymous cringe dilemmas. So I feel like you're the perfect person to help.
okay, hit me with your cringe dilemmas.
So the first one I've got is from a little dot. I accidentally sent a voice note of me singing Let It Go from Frozen to the
Mm,
form group chat. I meant to send it to my mum, who had been nagging me to tidy my room. Oh, that's tricky, isn't it? And that's the thing about the text thing. It's so easily done. If you're having two chats
yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
once, we've all done it, but this is quite extreme if she's singing Let It
Yeah,
Go.
absolutely style it out is always my just act like you
Yeah.
meant to do it. Just
Yeah.
just pretend you meant to do it.
You could even
I think
take
that's
it
the
further
way.
than that, and maybe every day do another song from
Yeah,
Frozen,
exactly. Just add a new song. And like, because in my adult chat groups, people send me songs all the time, it's
Yeah,
perfectly normal.
yeah, that's
Why aren't they
exactly.
sending songs,
Well, yeah,
losers?
maybe you'll start a trend.
Yeah, Monday a song day.
I love that. Yeah, own it, lean into it, and just keep on
Double
sending
down.
songs. Double
Yeah,
down. Yeah, because if you go
yeah,
in and delete it, that's gonna make it worse in a way.
go with it.
Yeah. No,
Because I
I
do
think
think
that's
the
good
less
advice.
you're embarrassed, the less people will notice that it's embarrassing.
Especially at school age, I think if you're noticeably embarrassed about something, that
Yeah,
is when the meanies will get
yeah.
in.
Because like, in spite of I was a very weird kid, but I was never bullied, and I do think it was partly because I wouldn't have
You didn't
noticed if
care.
you know, if they tried,
Yeah, because they want a reaction a lot of the time, and if you're
Yeah, and
just
I
like,
just would have
shrug
been
it
like,
off,
"Yeah, let's talk about Wagner, I don't care."
yeah, it's only an insult if you take it. If you don't accept
Yeah,
it,
yeah. I think the only time they maybe did get a rise out of me, was when, I called a boy sexist, and he said, "Oh, you think I'm sexy?" And
oh,
I was like, "I'm just trying to explain what sexism is, you complete moron." But I
oh
don't know, I
God.
don't think they got a vulnerable rise, it was more of a rage rise.
Annoyed. Yeah, quite
Yeah, yeah,
rightly.
yeah.
That's annoying when they
I hope he
get.
learnt. Marcus Sheehan out there, if you're listening, I hope you now know the difference between sexism and sexy.
Now I have one more if you've got time, Louis.
Mm.
I was in Starbucks with a group of friends and I asked for a croissant instead of a croissant. I was really embarrassed. What should I do? That everybody laughed. Oh,
Just again, make it your thing. Like,
and
offer bring
yeah.
some croissants into school and say croissant.
I can, yeah, I can relate to that because I have a real phobia of pronouncing words wrong. And actually, especially things like croissant. I can say croissant now. I think that's right, but I still pause when I'm ordering one. So I can
Yeah.
really relate to
Okay.
this
So
person.
if I was mean, my approach to it would be constantly to get them to read out words they've never seen before. And if they mispronounce them, I'd be like croissant, croissant.
Yeah,
Shoes on the other foot now.
yeah,
But if I was not being mean, then I think I'd just say, you know what? My bad. I'll say it right next time.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Or just pretend you actually wanted a croissant,
Yeah.
and they hand you a croissant and say,
Yeah, I do think kind of some deadpan styling out can be quite good. It's
yeah,
like, like how you can get like people do sell like fried insects sometimes as kind of
yes.
novelty things. So yeah, I just want to cross out, and it's pretty cross because it's dead.
And they taste better than happy ones. So,
Yeah, exactly.
because
Yeah,
the
you can really taste
adrenaline.
the rage. Yeah,
Yeah, I think actually humour is a really good way,
yeah. I think humor
to
and
get
deflection
yourself
is really
out.
useful. Yeah, and it means at least you're laughing.
If no one else laughs, it doesn't matter because 'cause you've made yourself laugh.
Yeah, I think so.
So, just run with it, and use a bit of humour. That's our top advice for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for helping with those. What's your next book-wise for you then? Is there another Loki one in the cards?
I'm currently writing Loki 6,
Wow.
and I have a plan for 9, so here we go. And I've got a couple of other projects on the back burner that kind of have to wait until Loki's done, but one of them might be short enough for me to do in the meantime. We shall see.
Okay.
But that one of them is a comic, so comics are really take a really long time to draw.
Good,
So
yeah, yeah.
so see you in 5 years.
Exciting though. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
look out for
because
it,
Loki
but
has lots of comics in it, but
yeah, of
this
course.
was like I want to try
A proper
just comics.
full-on,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
okay, well, is there anything else you would like to share or get off your chest
Yeah, well, so
or
just the obligatory plug, Loki 5, A Bad God's Guide to Causing Chaos, is coming out on the
cool,
11th of
awesome.
September.
Okay,
So, so be that the physical version with my drawings, and then the audio version voiced by Ben Wilbond, which is amazing as well, which I believe he
nice.
has now recorded. And so, yeah, so please pre-order it, buy it when it comes out.
I think there's
Keep
gonna be
me
loads of kids really
keep me
excited.
writing it so I can finish my 9 book arc.
Yeah, and,
So
get into that Buffy writers' room. But thanks so much for coming on. It was really nice to chat.
pleasure.
Thanks so much again to Louie for coming. Don't forget to look out for her new book, Loki, A Bad God's Guide to Causing Chaos. That's out on the 11th of September. If you have any cringe dilemmas for me and my next guest, please email me at cringeclubcrew@gmail.com or get in touch with me on Instagram at emilyjane.clark. And don't forget, my book for tweens is out now called Cringe Club, which is the first in a funny news series that is entirely written in group chat. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Keep on cringing, everyone.